When you think about power, what's the first name that pops into your head? For most people, for centuries, it's been Machiavelli. His ideas are everywhere, in business, in politics, you name it. He's treated like the guy who wrote the definitive rulebook for how the world really works. But what if I told you the supposed master of power wasn't really a master at all? Okay, let's get into this.
Here's the one question that kind of unravels the whole myth. If his system was so genius, so on the nose about human nature and power, then why was his own life, well, kind of a failure? Why was he so consistently shut out from the power he claimed to understand? It's a question that changes everything about how we should see him.
So let's break this down. Contradiction number 1. Machiavelli wrote his masterpiece, The Prince, this legendary guide to taking and keeping power after he got fired. He'd been kicked out of office. So he was literally on the outside looking in, writing about a dominance he just didn't have anymore.
And it gets even more ironic. He was writing all these famous theories about manipulation and controlling people precisely because he was excluded. He wasn't in the room where it happens anymore. So this wasn't writing from a position of strength, it was writing from the cheap seats.
And this, right here, is the real kicker. The Prince wasn't just some deep philosophical work. At its core, it was a job application, a desperate one. He was basically pleading with the new guys in charge, the Medici family, to notice him and give him a job. So he's writing about how to command rulers, while he himself is just begging for a paycheck.
So here's the point, and it's a crucial one. A political philosophy isn't just pretty words. It's supposed to be a tool. You can think of it as a kind of survival technology. And like any tool, you judge it by one thing. Does it work? I mean, if a strategist can't even use his own strategy to protect himself, how good can that strategy really be?
But here's the thing. History didn't just give us Machiavelli. There was another mind out there from a different era whose whole approach was way more subtle and, probably a lot more effective. It's time we met history's forgotten strategist. This guy's name was Balthasar Gracian, and his approach was the complete opposite of the loud, aggressive power plays we all associate with Machiavelli. Gracian wasn't loud, no, but his insights were absolutely lethal in their quiet precision.
Yeah, Garcian wasn't about the big, showy moves. No drama. His whole philosophy was about surgical subtlety, about perfect timing and incredible self-control. It wasn't about putting on a performance. It was about engineering the outcome you wanted, quietly, from the shadows.
And here's the simplest way to frame the difference between them. If Machiavelli wrote the playbook on conquest, how to go out and take things, Garcian wrote the manual for survival, how to make yourself invincible. They're playing two totally different games.
And look, you don't have to take my word for it. Some of the sharpest, most cynical minds in history were in awe of Garcian. The philosopher Nietzsche, a guy who was famously critical of, well, pretty much everything religious, called Garcian's work the most refined in all of Europe. That alone should make you sit up and pay attention.
And this is a huge deal. See, unlike Machiavelli, who wrote from exile, Garcian wrote from the inside. He was a Jesuit priest working right in the middle of the hyper-competitive, backstabbing elite courts of 17th century Spain. He wasn't guessing what power looked like. He was living it every single day and teaching people how to survive.
All right, so let's really put these two philosophies head to head. Is it better to rely on brute force, or is it smarter to build an unbreachable psychological fortress?
And this right here is the entire argument in one simple comparison. It's a profound shift in perspective. Machiavelli is all about how to win the battle, how to seize the prize right now. Garcian is focused on the long game, how to make sure you can never truly be beaten.
Let's just break this down. Machiavelli, he's all offense. His power comes from pure domination. It's super high risk, really only works for short-term wins, and it's written for the rulers. Garcian is the total opposite. His strategy is defensive. His power comes from perception, from reputation. It's low risk, built for the long haul, and it's designed for individuals, for people like you and me trying to navigate a tricky world.
The biggest flaw in the Machiavellian playbook is just how draining it is. It's what you could call metabolically expensive. You have to constantly be on, constantly performing, constantly deceiving and dominating. And while you're doing all that, you're creating a long, long line of enemies who are just waiting for you to slip up. But Garcian's system, now that's built to last. It's more durable and honestly a lot more humane. The goal isn't to be the star of the show. The goal is to fly under the radar, make yourself indispensable, and ultimately become untouchable.
So, what does all this mean for us today?
how can we actually use this historical showdown as a practical guide for getting through our own complicated lives?
Well, think of it like this, a two-step process to become truly socially and politically literate. Step 1 is detection. You read Machiavelli not as a how-to guide, but as a field guide to manipulators. You learn to spot crude power plays from a mile away. Then, you move on to step 2, mastery. That's Garcian. He teaches you how to build your own psychological armor so you can survive it all with your integrity intact.
And let's be real, this is not just some dusty old history lesson. Look around. Our modern world, from the corporate ladder to politics to social media, is filled with what are basically predatory environments. They are not designed to be nice. Understanding these two ways of thinking isn't just interesting, it's essential for survival.
Because when you boil it all down, here's what each philosophy creates. If you only teach Machiavelli, you're either training people to be predators or you're training them to be victims. There's not much in between. But if you teach Garcian, you're training people to be fortresses. You're giving them the tools to become strong, resilient, and incredibly hard to break.
And this really gets to the heart of Garcian's wisdom. It's a total redefinition of what strength even is. Real power isn't about your ability to crush other people. Real power is the inability to be crushed. It's not about domination, it's about being unassailable.
So, I'll just leave you with this question to think about. As you navigate your own life, your career, your relationships, all of it, are you playing a game of conquest, always trying to win, or are you building for survival, making sure you can never lose? The answer just might change everything.